Every single day, millions of people look in the mirror and see the same thing. Dark patches spreading across the face, brown spots creeping up the hands and along the neck. They often show up quietly, one at first, then two, then so many you stop counting. You've likely tried creams, perhaps even home remedies, and when you finally consulted a doctor, you might have received a dismissive shrug and two words: it's aging. I am here to tell you that answer is fundamentally wrong. Age spots, medically known as hyperpigmentation, are not an inevitable consequence of getting older. They are not a verdict you must simply accept. Instead, they are a clear signal that specific internal processes in your body are out of balance. The good news is, these processes can be corrected without expensive procedures, without costly creams, and without surgery, using straightforward tools that likely already exist in your kitchen. Welcome to the Health Blueprint, where we empower you with the knowledge to reclaim your well-being. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll discover a hidden link between your skin's health and an organ you rarely associate with pigmentation. Let's start by understanding exactly what is happening inside your skin when a dark spot forms. Deep within your skin layers live specialized cells called melanocytes. These are pigment-producing cells, and their sole job is to manufacture a substance called melanin. Melanin is the dark pigment that gives your skin its color. When you are young and your body is functioning optimally, melanocytes distribute this pigment evenly across the skin's surface, resulting in a uniform, clear, and consistent complexion. However, under the influence of specific internal and external factors, and we will explore every one of them today, these cells begin to work erratically. Some slow down, while others go into overdrive, dumping massive amounts of pigment into a single, concentrated point. The result is a dark patch against lighter surrounding skin. The critical insight here is this: age itself does not break melanocytes. What disrupts them are specific, identifiable physiological processes. And that, truly, is good news, because specific processes can be changed and optimized. The first factor I want to address often surprises most people. It is not solely the sun. The majority are convinced that age spots are purely a sun problem, but that is only partially true. Think of the sun as a match. For a match to start a fire, however, you need fuel. The real fuel is what is happening inside your body. If your internal systems are functioning properly, sunlight is not necessarily your enemy. In fact, if there's internal dysfunction, spots can intensify even in the middle of winter, on overcast days, without any meaningful sun exposure at all. This is precisely why people can apply expensive sunscreens, diligently stay in the shade, and yet their spots continue to darken. They are often looking for the answer in the wrong place. Now, let's delve into the specific internal mechanisms, starting with the first major factor, the liver. I know what you might be thinking. What does the liver have to do with skin pigmentation? I am going to explain this, and I believe you will find it genuinely surprising. Your liver is performing more than 500 functions simultaneously at this very moment. 500 is not hyperbole. It is a documented physiological reality. It filters blood, breaks down fats, neutralizes toxins, produces bile, and stores vitamins. It is one of the hardest working organs in your entire body. And one of its functions, one you are almost certainly not going to hear about at a dermatology appointment, is its direct influence on the condition of your skin. Every single day, substances enter your body that need to be processed and rendered harmless through food, air, and water. The liver intercepts them, neutralizes them, and routes them out of the body. Its job is to be the primary filter. But when the liver becomes overloaded, when it cannot keep up with the incoming volume of toxins and waste, the workload gets redistributed to other elimination systems. One of those systems is your skin. This is not a figure of speech. This is pure physiology. Your skin is not just a wrapper around your body. It is a fully functioning excretory organ. When your liver and kidneys are working above capacity, your skin absorbs part of that load. And when substances that have not been fully neutralized begin passing through skin tissue, they irritate the cells from the inside, including the melanocytes. Irritated melanocytes start working chaotically. They dump pigment unevenly, concentrating it in areas where the skin is thinnest, such as the face, hands, neck, and chest. This is why you can apply the most expensive creams on the market and the spots will not budge. You are essentially repainting the walls of an apartment where a pipe has burst. It is pointless until you fix the pipe. Here is an important number. As we age, blood flow through the liver declines. Research shows that by the age of 75, hepatic blood flow, or blood flow through the liver, can decrease by approximately 30%. The liver itself can also shrink in volume by 20% to 40%. The organ becomes slower. However, here's the good news. The liver has a remarkable capacity for recovery. Remove the things that are damaging it, support it with the right inputs, and it can significantly improve its own function. This is why the situation should not be ignored. How do you support your liver? With simple, accessible tools. No expensive supplements, just food and habits. First, begin every morning with a glass of warm water and a slice of lemon. Not hot, not cold, but warm, approximately 37 degrees Celsius, or body temperature. This gently stimulates bile flow. Bile is a digestive fluid produced by the liver that thickens overnight. The warm water with lemon encourages it to move. A single lemon costs almost nothing and lasts for 3 to 4 days. If you have elevated stomach acid or a stomach ulcer, substitute the lemon for half a teaspoon of honey. The principle is the same, but the delivery is gentler. Second, incorporate bitters. Bitter foods have a long-standing reputation as liver support, and there is scientific backing for it. They stimulate bile production, which helps the liver process fats. The most accessible source of bitterness is dandelion, the same plant that grows in your yard every spring. Dandelion leaves can be added to a salad, and the root can be brewed as tea. Use 2 tablespoons of dried dandelion root per cup of boiling water. Steep for 20 minutes and drink half a cup before a meal. Dandelion root is listed as an official medicinal plant in pharmacopoeias, and at any health food store or pharmacy, it costs less than a standard box of tea. Bitter, yes. Worth it, absolutely. Third, eliminate trans fats. Trans fats are artificially modified fats found in cheap margarine and industrial baking fats, common in store-bought cookies, inexpensive cakes, and many packaged convenience foods. Read ingredient labels. If you see partially hydrogenated oils, those are trans fats. They impose a significant additional burden on the liver and on the body as a whole. Replace them with a small amount of real butter, roughly 14 grams per day. It is simpler and cheaper than it sounds. So, 3 steps for your liver. Warm lemon water in the morning, dandelion bitters before a meal, and no trans fats. Within several weeks, you will have given your liver meaningful support. When the liver functions better, your skin carries less load. This is not magic, it is physiology. Now, let's move to the second major factor, another organ that influences pigmentation just as powerfully, possibly even more so, yet almost no one discusses it in the context of age spots. I am talking about the gut. Researchers are actively studying what is called the gut-skin axis, the direct relationship between intestinal health and skin condition. Current evidence indicates that disruption of the gut microbiome can amplify inflammatory processes throughout the body, including the processes that deregulate pigmentation. People with a disrupted gut microbiome show skin problems, including uneven pigmentation, at significantly higher rates. Why? Your gut is not simply a tube that food moves through. It is an entire ecosystem. Trillions of bacteria live inside it. A trillion is a 1 followed by 12 zeros. These bacteria govern processes you are not even aware of, synthesizing vitamins, calibrating immune responses, and regulating inflammation throughout the body. When beneficial bacteria are abundant, they maintain the gut wall as a tight, intact barrier, ensuring nothing unauthorized crosses into the bloodstream. But when beneficial bacteria are depleted and harmful bacteria are dominant, that barrier function breaks down. In scientific literature, this is referred to as increased intestinal permeability, or colloquially, leaky gut. Through the weakened wall, fragments of bacteria and other substances enter the bloodstream, triggering a quiet, invisible inflammatory response throughout the body. No fever, no pain. But that chronic, low-grade inflammation is precisely what pushes melanocytes into deregulated activity. Remember the match and the fuel? There it is. The fuel is that hidden chronic inflammation. You can avoid the sun for an entire year, but if this process is running in the background, pigmentation will keep intensifying regardless of the season. What do? Restore the microbiome. And for that, you do not need expensive probiotic capsules. The first method is homemade sauerkraut. We are talking about fermented cabbage, not the store-bought kind sitting in vinegar and preservatives, but traditionally fermented, made with nothing but cabbage and salt. Sauerkraut is one of the richest natural sources of live beneficial bacteria. 2 to 3 tablespoons a day. Within a month, your gut will register a difference. Cabbage and salt. That is the entire ingredient list. It does not get cheaper than that. The second method is plain kefir, the simplest variety, with no added flavors and a short shelf life, 7 days maximum. The shorter the shelf life, the more live bacteria it contains. Drink a glass of kefir before bed every single night, specifically at night, because the gut does its most active repair work during sleep, and the bacteria from the kefir integrate into the microbiome while you rest. But bacteria need fuel of their own, and their preferred food is fiber. Fiber consists of the rough, plant-based material that your digestive system cannot break down, but that beneficial bacteria thrive on. One of the best accessible sources of fiber is plain oatmeal, not the instant packets, but the real variety that takes 15 to 20 minutes on the stove. 3 tablespoons in the morning gives your gut bacteria their daily nutrition. And one more often overlooked factor: your gut cannot function normally without physical movement. Peristalsis, the rhythmic contractions that propel food through the intestines, slows down when you spend your day sitting. So, alongside the dietary changes, add a simple abdominal massage. Lie on your back with your knees bent. Place both palms on your abdomen and slowly circle your hands clockwise. Clockwise specifically because that follows the direction food travels through the intestinal tract. Perform 36 rotations with moderate pressure, a gentle but deliberate compression, not just a surface stroke. This practice has roots going back centuries in traditional medicine, and modern research confirms it. Abdominal massage demonstrably improves intestinal motility and supports normal digestion. Now, let's return to the sun, which is the third factor in this sequence. When sunlight reaches your skin, it penetrates deep enough to contact the melanocytes and issues a signal. Threat detected. Defend yourself. Melanin is your skin's natural shield against ultraviolet radiation. This is why skin darkens with sun exposure. It is a normal, healthy, protective response. But here is what is not normal. When chronic inflammation already exists in your body because of an overburdened liver, a disrupted gut, or both, your melanocytes are already in a state of persistent irritation. They are already functioning erratically. And when UV light hits a cell that is already in that state, the response is disproportionate. Instead of a mild, even tan, a concentrated surge of pigment dumps into a single spot. That is your age spot. It is not because the sun is your enemy, but because your body was not prepared internally for that encounter. This is why the condition of your skin is determined from the inside. However, this does not mean sun exposure is something to ignore. There are foods that help your skin resist UV damage from the inside out. They are called dietary antioxidants. Antioxidants are compounds that neutralize free radicals, which are unstable molecules generated in skin tissue under UV exposure and damaged cells. Antioxidants intercept them before the damage spreads. First, carrots. They contain beta-carotene, a compound that accumulates in skin tissue and functions as an internal light filter. Meta-analyses, large-scale scientific reviews consolidating the results of dozens of individual studies, confirm that regular consumption of beta-carotene-rich foods increases the skin's resistance to ultraviolet damage. One critical detail: beta-carotene is fat-soluble, meaning it is only absorbed in the presence of dietary fat. Eat carrots with sour cream, a small pat of butter, or cooked in oil. Without fat, beta-carotene passes straight through without being absorbed. Second, tomatoes, particularly heat-processed, cooked, stewed, or as tomato paste. When heated, tomatoes release lycopene, one of the most potent natural antioxidants known. Clinical research demonstrates that regular consumption of tomato paste increases the skin's resistance to UV-induced damage. Aim for 2 tablespoons a day. Third, green tea. Use loose leaf, not bagged. Brew it strong, let it cool, and drink it throughout the day, 3 to 4 cups. Loose leaf green tea contains a high concentration of catechins, antioxidants that directly protect skin cells from free radical damage. Carrots with fat, tomato paste, and green tea every day can be more protective than many SPF products on the shelf. A few words of plain common sense about sun behavior. During peak UV hours, roughly 11 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, seek shade. A light hat and a long-sleeve shirt are often sufficient. But do not hide from the sun entirely. That is the other extreme, and it carries real costs. Your body needs sunlight. Sunlight is how you produce vitamin D, and vitamin D deficiency is a problem that receives far too little attention, making it the fourth crucial factor. According to research data, insufficient or deficient vitamin D levels are found in the overwhelming majority of people over the age of 60. Most of them have no idea because low vitamin D does not cause pain or produce sharp, locatable symptoms. It works quietly, the way rust corrodes iron from the inside. You cannot see it until the structure begins to fail. Vitamin D is involved in regulating immune activity, in the renewal of skin cells, and in protection against inflammation. Deficiency is associated with a wide range of skin problems. Research also indicates that vitamin D influences melanocyte function. The precise mechanisms are still being worked out, but the directional evidence is consistent. One point is settled: maintaining normal vitamin D levels is an essential component of overall health, and skin is no exception. Think you need expensive supplements? Not necessarily. Not yet. Start with what is freely available: sunlight to generate your daily vitamin D. 15 minutes outdoors between April and September with your forearms and face exposed is often sufficient. 15 minutes, free and effective. Then, consider food. First, herring. Regular salted herring from any grocery store. 100 grams contains approximately 1.5 times the daily recommended intake of vitamin D. One portion at lunch can cover your daily needs. Second, egg yolks. 2 yolks per day provide roughly 30% of the daily vitamin D requirement, a meaningful contribution when combined with other sources. Third, cod liver. 1 teaspoon per day. A small jar costs very little and lasts 2 to 3 weeks. No capsules required. Herring, eggs, cod liver. Ordinary products from an ordinary grocery store. Now for the fifth factor. This one can outweigh all 4 preceding factors combined. It has nothing to do with food, nothing to do with the sun. It is connected to your nervous system, to what you feel every single day. In 15 years of clinical practice, I have seen patients who ate correctly, supported their liver, drank kefir every evening, followed every protocol, and their spots did not fade. New ones continued to appear. Only when we addressed one thing that had nothing to do with food, skin, or sunlight did the situation begin to shift. That factor is chronic stress. This refers to the daily, habitual stress that people no longer notice because it has become the background noise of their lives. Here is the mechanism. When you are anxious, worried, or upset, the brain fires an alarm signal. The adrenal glands, 2 small glands positioned on top of your kidneys, release stress hormones into the bloodstream. In prehistoric times, those hormones saved lives. They raised blood pressure, accelerated the heart, sharpened attention, everything needed to survive a physical threat. But your body cannot distinguish between a real physical threat and an emotional one. A conflict with a neighbor, worry about your children, a sleepless night spent reading the news. The body registers all of it as the same signal, danger, and the stress hormones flow, not just once, but every day. Morning anxiety, midday irritability, evening exhaustion that sleep does not resolve. Does that sound familiar? Chronic stress drives skin deterioration through multiple pathways. First, it amplifies systemic inflammation, the same low-grade chronic inflammation we have discussed throughout this video. Second, stress triggers the production of compounds from the pro-opiomelanocortin family. Pro-opiomelanocortin is a precursor protein, a raw material from which the body manufactures several hormones, including some that directly stimulate pigment production. Third, stress degrades the skin's barrier function, making it more vulnerable to external damage. People under chronic stress show skin disorders, including pigmentation irregularities, at substantially higher rates. You can do everything right nutritionally and follow every protocol, but if you are in a state of chronic stress every day, the inflammatory processes will continue. The solution is not to eliminate all stress. That is not a realistic prescription. But you can train your body to mount a calmer physiological response. Here is a specific technique that activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is the branch of your nervous system responsible for rest, recovery, and restoration, the biological counterbalance to the stress response. Sit comfortably or lie down. Close your eyes. Place one hand on your chest, the other on your abdomen. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Breathe with your diaphragm. The hand on your chest should remain still while the hand on your abdomen rises. Hold for a count of 7 calmly, without strain. Exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8. Make a long, audible exhale, as if you are blowing out a candle positioned far across the room. This is the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Repeat it 4 times for a total of 2 minutes. This activates the vagus nerve, the primary nerve of the parasympathetic system. Heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, and muscles release. Consistent practice of slow, diaphragmatic breathing measurably reduces circulating stress hormone levels and improves sleep quality. And deep sleep matters here directly. It is during deep sleep that the skin performs its cellular renewal. No deep sleep means no complete regeneration. Practice this before bed every night. Here is something clinically relevant that connects all 5 factors: your body's response to liver overload, gut dysbiosis, UV exposure, vitamin D deficiency, and chronic stress all intensify with age. These mechanisms operate more aggressively after 40. After 50, the acceleration increases further. In people past 60, skin cells renew at roughly half the rate they did in youth. Damage clears more slowly, and new damage accumulates faster. Age is a clinically significant variable here. Now, for the practical section, can you address the spots topically as well? Yes, but only as a complement to everything discussed. Internal work first, external second. Here is a 3-ingredient mask using items from your kitchen. But first, an important warning. One of the most common mistakes people make is applying a brightening remedy only to have their spots darken instead of fading. The skin becomes inflamed and flakes. They conclude the remedy is worthless. The real problem is not the remedy, it is the method. Your skin is a living organ, the largest in your body. On its surface exists a protective barrier, a microscopically thin film of beneficial lipids and microorganisms. When that barrier is intact, the skin tolerates active ingredients calmly. But in most people, that barrier is compromised by harsh soaps, alcohol-based toners, or abrasive scrubs. When an active substance contacts a damaged barrier, the skin perceives it as an attack. It inflames, and inflamed skin responds by producing more pigment. This is called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. darkening of skin in direct response to inflammatory injury. You tried to lighten it and made it darker. So, rule number 1, for 3 full days before using any mask, stop washing your face with soap entirely. No cleansers, no gels, no scrubs. Warm water only. Over those 3 days, the barrier begins to rebuild. You will feel it. The skin becomes softer and more supple. Only then, and not before, should you apply the mask. 3 ingredients, all from your kitchen. First, kefir, 1 tablespoon. Kefir contains lactic acid, a mild, naturally occurring compound with documented brightening properties, plus live bacteria to support the skin's microbiome. Second, honey, half a teaspoon. Honey is a natural humectant, a substance that draws moisture from the air and holds it in the skin, and a gentle antimicrobial agent. Third, turmeric, just a pinch, the amount that fits on the tip of a knife, nothing more. Turmeric contains curcumin, a compound with well-documented anti-inflammatory properties. But if you use too much, the skin can stain yellow. A pinch, full stop. Mix all 3. Apply to the face, neck, chest, and hands. Leave on for 15 minutes. Rinse with warm water and no soap. Pat dry, do not rub. Use this mask 3 times per week, evenings only, not daily and not in the mornings. After active ingredients, skin is temporarily more UV sensitive, making morning application before going outside inappropriate. The second element of the practical protocol is movement for lymphatic flow. The lymphatic system is your body's internal waste clearance network. It collects dead cells, metabolic byproducts, and inflammatory debris and routes them out. Approximately 2 liters of lymph circulate through your body each day. Unlike blood, which is driven by the heart, lymph has no pump. It moves by one mechanism only, muscle contraction. If you sit all day, lymph flow stagnates and metabolic waste from skin cells accumulates in place. Here is a 5-minute routine each morning that changes that. First, vibration. Stand with feet shoulder-width apart. If balance is an issue, hold on to a chair back. Rise 2.5 to 5 centimeters onto the balls of your feet. Then, drop softly onto your heels. Make firm but gentle contact, enough to feel, not enough to cause pain. Do this 30 times, which takes about 30 seconds. Second, heel pulses. Sit in a chair. Rapidly raise and lower your heels while keeping your toes on the floor for 30 seconds. This activates lymph flow in the legs, where stagnation is most common. Third, a full body stretch. Stand upright, interlace your fingers, raise both arms overhead. Stretch the whole body upward for 10 seconds. Lean right for 5 seconds, then left for 5 seconds. This opens the chest and supports lymph movement through the thoracic duct, the body's primary lymphatic channel. Fourth, facial massage. Use light fingertip tapping across the face. Then, perform strokes from the center outward toward the ears. Forehead midline to temples. Cheeks from nose to ears. Chin center toward earlobes. 5 to 6 strokes in each direction. Behind the ears sit lymph nodes that drain the entire face. Here is a week-by-week plan to implement these changes. Week 1. Preparation. Every morning, drink warm lemon water before eating. Every evening, have kefir 1 hour before bed. Eliminate trans fats from your diet. Begin drinking dandelion root tea before your main meal. 2 tablespoons per cup of boiling water, steeped for 20 minutes, then drink half a cup. Stop using soap on your face. Use warm water only. No external changes yet, but internally, the process has already started. Week 2. Activate the system with the full dietary protocol. In the morning, oatmeal with grated carrot and a teaspoon of butter, along with green tea. For lunch, a beet salad with unrefined oil, 100 grams of herring, and a bowl of cabbage soup. For an afternoon snack, 28 grams of raw, unsalted pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are a concentrated source of zinc, a mineral without which skin cell renewal slows and which is commonly deficient in people past 60. For dinner, 2 boiled eggs or a portion of poached chicken and fermented cabbage. Kefir before bed. Incorporate the morning movement routine, vibration, heel pulses, stretching, and facial massage for 5 minutes. Practice the evening 4-7-8 breathing technique for 4 cycles. Begin the mask 3 evenings per week. Week 3. Observe. Look closely at the spots. The edges will begin to soften and the color will begin to fade. Add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste daily to your meals. Week 4 and beyond. Consolidation. Within 2 to 3 months of consistent adherence, you will see measurable changes not only in the spots, but also in a more even overall skin tone, improved firmness, and better sleep. This is because you have not been masking a symptom. You have been supporting the entire organism from the inside. Here is one bonus technique, a 1-minute temperature contrast. Take a metal teaspoon and place it in the freezer for 5 minutes. While it chills, rub your palms together vigorously for 30 seconds until you feel genuine heat. Press your warm palms flat against your face for 10 seconds. Blood has moved in and vessels have expanded. Now, press the rounded side of the cold spoon against each area of pigmentation for 3 seconds each. Work across the full face and neck. Finish again with warm palms for 10 seconds. This temperature alternation drives the vessels through cycles of expansion and contraction. Blood and lymph move through the tissue more actively, improving local cellular metabolism. Do this every morning after your movement routine. 1 minute costs nothing. Take a photograph of your face today and compare it in 2 weeks. Here is the complete picture. 5 factors drive pigmentation: liver function, gut microbiome, UV exposure, vitamin D status, and chronic stress. You now have concrete tools for each. Warm lemon water and dandelion bitters for the liver. Fermented cabbage, kefir, and oatmeal for the gut. Carrots with fat, tomato paste, and green tea for antioxidant protection. Herring, eggs, and cod liver for vitamin D. The 4-7-8 breathing technique for stress. A 3-ingredient mask 3 evenings per week. 5 minutes of morning movement. 1 minute with a cold spoon. These work as a system, and the cost is negligible. One clinical note before we close. If you have spots that are changing in shape, have irregular borders, or look different from the others, please see a dermatologist. Everything discussed today supports your body's own function. It does not replace medical evaluation when something needs to be clinically examined. While no one in a white coat is likely to walk you through this at an appointment, as the system is often structured around return visits rather than comprehensive wellness, this channel exists to provide you with the information you need to take control of your health. Your well-being is our ultimate goal here.